This is a tutorial on how to palpate the PSIS, or the posterior superior iliac spine, which is this area right here of the pelvis. So what we're going to do is have our person stand nice and tall, feet hip width apart and toes in whatever comfortable straight ahead position is good for them. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to first start on the side of Trevor's body here, and I'm going to palpate and I'm going to try and find his iliac crest. When we say the iliac crest, we're referring to this part of the pelvis right through here, because what we're going to do is we're going to follow it down until we hit this little knuckle portion of the PSIS right here. So I'm going to go ahead and try and palpate that. I'm going to find it. Perfect. So I'm going to follow that iliac crest down on both sides until I feel like it starts to move down right here. And then what I'm going to feel is for like that knuckle sensation, which for the left one is clearly right here. And for the right one, as I follow it down, I can't find it as easily. And so I'm going to have Trevor very slightly posteriorly tilt his pelvis. And that's going to bring that PSIS in that knuckle area down closer to me. So now if I follow that crest down a little bit more, boom, now I've got it. And I can find it right there as I run my thumb laterally and medially looking for that knuckle-like point. Now I'm going to make sure Trevor resets his pelvis and goes back to neutral. Perfect, right there. Now you can see that the left one is sitting just below the right one. Okay, now we're going to compare the relative position of Trevor's PSIS to his ASIS. This will give us a good idea of the degree of tilt in his pelvis, whether he is more neutral, more anteriorly tilted, or more posteriorly tilted. So I've got his PSIS right here, and now I'm going to walk down that crest to find the ASIS, which is right here. Now look at those two fingers. This is actually relatively level. Typically what we would see in a neutral pelvis is one where the PSIS is just very slightly above the ASIS. Usually around 7 degrees of a tilt is what constitutes a neutral pelvis. But if it's level, that means that Trevor is relatively posteriorly tilted on this side. Let's compare to the other one. Now let's do this left side right here. Find that ASIS, got it secured right here. So you could tell on this side that the PSIS is definitely higher than the ASIS. So this is closer to neutral. I wouldn't quite say that he is in a complete anterior pelvic tilt on this side. This is closer to that 7 degrees. Now we're going to palpate Sabrina's PSIS. So we're going to find the crest of her pelvis right here. We're going to walk it down. We're going to find that knuckle area. So for her, that's right about here on the left, and on the right, if I follow it down, it's a little bit lower right here. So this is her left, this is her right. So now we're going to compare the PSIS to the ASIS. So I've got the left PSIS right here. I'm going to come down to find the ASIS on the left, which is right here. So now let's compare what we see. Now, typically, a normal neutral pelvis has around a 7-degree tilt, and for her, she is a little bit more than that, I would say. So she is in a relative anterior tilt of her pelvis because this PSIS is higher than a little bit higher than it normally should be compared to the ASIS. Now, typically, we should see that the PSIS is higher, but it shouldn't be that much higher than the ASIS. So I've got her right PSIS. We're going to compare this now to the relative position of her right ASIS. So walking down, 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 here is where that notch is. So you could tell that through my fingers right here, the PSIS is definitely higher than the ASIS. Now, there should be, like I said, some degree of the PSIS being higher than the ASIS. There should be about that 7-degree tilt forward. But you're seeing a noticeably larger amount of that because her pelvis is tilted forward into an anterior orientation. So that would be an indication that this person is in an anterior pelvic tilt.